Welcome everyone to the F1 show. We're going to be going through all the news and all the drama that's happened at Bahrain. There's only one thing to start with, Sam. Here with Sam, professional kart driver. Max Verstappen, is the season over?
Yeah, I think it is. I can't see him getting beaten now.
Yeah.
Already after one race, short of reliability,
Yeah.
he's head and shoulders, the team's head and shoulders. I can't see him beaten. What about you? What do you think?
Well, if we rewind a little bit, so in free practice, so testing, people were saying Verstappen looks so good, the Red Bull looks good, we saw the team, all smiles on the pit wall. Going to free practice, actually Red Bull, if I remember, don't have it all their own way. We see George Russell do really well, we see the Ferraris do really well.
Yeah, but I think you've got the whole sandbagging type thing. That's the hard thing to gauge.
But then going to qualifying, in Q2 in qualifying, Charles Leclerc out-qualifies Max Verstappen, doesn't count for pole, it's Q2, but Leclerc goes fastest. And Verstappen had a tow in Q2 as well. But then we go into Q3, Verstappen on pole by 2/10. And 2/10 might not sound like a lot. It's like in 1 second you have like 5 2/10, a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But when you extrapolate over the 57 laps, the writing was pretty on the wall there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think once he got pole, short of him having a terrible start, I think, in my opinion, that was always going to be race over. But the battle from second backwards...
Yeah, you've noted that it was actually, and people might miss this, but it was actually super, super close.
Yeah, from qualifying to all the racing. I mean, in qualifying, if you go from second, which was Leclerc, and then ninth, which was Hamilton, I think there was 3 tenths covering them all.
Yeah.
And that's 4 teams in there.
Yeah, completely different chassis and a lot of powertrains and whatnot in there. But that leads on to our next question, which is best of the rest. So Verstappen's won this year in the championship, may as well go home, see you in 2025. But best of the rest, is it between Ferrari and Mercedes, two big factory teams? We saw that, Carlos Sainz was the driver that sort of managed to get himself on the podium, be the first non-Red Bull driver. Any thoughts about that? For me, what I saw, the Mercedes looked quite stable as a platform.
Yeah, I think Mercedes, obviously coming from the zero side pods concept, I think they've got a lot more in the car to unlock compared to Ferrari, who's been running the same concept now for a couple of years. So I think the Mercedes probably got a lot more they can unlock. But the McLarens, the McLaren I feel out-develop Aston, but I don't think McLaren have enough manpower compared to Ferrari and Mercedes.
Yeah, I know that was a big thing with McLaren. They really didn't want to be a customer team. Went to Honda, left Honda, went to Renault. That was a disaster. And now back where they were, which was with Mercedes. Yeah. But this was the whole thing, is that they didn't want to be a secondary team.
Yeah.
I think it was you said somewhere, a stat, that if you took last season in terms of the battle for, if you took Verstappen out of the races from last season, it's actually Lando Norris who comes out looking very well, maybe even sort of wins that.
I'm pretty sure because obviously they had those big upgrades at Austria. So going from then onwards, so go from Silverstone onwards, I'm pretty sure that Lando would have actually won the championship if you hadn't had included Max. So he would have won it. So it shows how close McLaren were getting to him. But I just think, my personal gut feeling, I think that this year Mercedes are going to be the ones who are going to get closest.
Let us know what you think about that in the comments, because I would say from McLaren fans out there, it's been a much better start the season McLaren had last year. We saw Piastri get a sprint victory, a sprint podium last year, I should say. Was sprint podium or sprint victory?
It was a victory.
Sprint victory last year. Yeah, and also he got they had Silverstone, they were very close, both McLarens as well. So, yeah, if you're part of the Papaya Army, then maybe looking up. But yeah, Mercedes, you can't forget, they won 7 championships in a row. They know what to do.
Yeah, you don't just forget how to do stuff,
I
don't think.
And the car looks super, super stable. Something that was interesting in Bahrain was Charles Leclerc just locking up a lot of the time. And it looked like there was actually some brake issue that Ferrari identified after the end of the race, and brakes running really hot. But let's go back down to the other end of the table. Alpine. I've got a bullet point here that says Alpine, absolute dogs. I mean, I think 2 of their senior staff resigned.
Really?
Retired.
Good.
Resigned after the GP, and look, they've lost Otmar. They've gone through. They've lost Cyril before that. And Alan Prost was part of that setup for a while. He seems to be sort of.
It just seems to be like a revolving door at the moment of their management. They're kind of just lost. They've got the slowest engine. The car is overweight. I mean, you can tell by how little paint they've got. And they even took, I don't know if you've noticed, but they actually took paint off the car between testing and the race. They've actually considerably got less paint on it now.
I didn't even know
so
that.
it's that much overweight. They're having to strip paint off it.
Yeah, I mean, rooted to the bottom of qualifying pretty much, and it wasn't looking great in the race, and I'm not sure it's the right place for a team to really come together. You compare that with, say, a team like Williams, who seem to be all on the same page and really working together as a goal to improve, and it's a different context when they go through rough patches because it's like they're breaking stuff to improve. But Alpine, I feel Alpine sees itself as a big factory team. There's obviously a massive French influence there, and they're based in Enstone. But
I mean, this could be a controversial thing for me personally, but I've got a feeling end of the year Alpine are going to sell to Andretti. If they don't get let in, I reckon Alpine are going to sell to Andretti. Andretti already had the engine deal with Renault. They were going to run the Renault engines until Cadillac had their own car. If Alpine are as bad at the end of the season as they are now, and Andretti aren't allowed on the grid as an 11th team, I reckon Andretti are going to take that spot.
Do you think Alpine, again, this thing they see themselves as a big factory outfit, Alpine has a WEC hypercar program this year. They sponsor a lot in sort of F2 and like lower formulas as well.
They have a lot of junior drivers.
Juniors, they were doing I think LMP2s last year in WEC as well. Like they seem very stretched, and not sure what the coherence is in that organisation. But
yeah, I mean, they are. I think personally, they're running themselves really thin, and going by them getting rid of all people leaving after just the first race. It just seems like a downward spiral.
Yeah, well, let's see. I mean, I've raced Esteban Ocon in sim racing, met him in real life. He's a really cool dude. Pierre Gasly as well. We know how quick Gasly is, like winning at Monza in the AlphaTauri, but we'll see. Right, next question I've got, interesting one. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited to hear our thoughts about it. And by the way, make sure you subscribe, ask any comments you've got, ask any question you've got in the comments. Did it feel like a big event, or are we in this sort of situation where there's not a lot of buzz? I want to explain this because it's quite controversial, but I feel like for the last, more than a few years, we've been in Melbourne, beginning of the season, and we've had that sort of excitement from the fans there. Sort of it's a track like in the city, but like in Albert Park, and like
a community track, like Bahrain's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well,
Albert Park is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels more isolated. Yeah. There's not as many grandstands around the circuit. Obviously, you've got the home straight, Albert Park, and the vibe, and also for us being in the UK, it's sort of an early start, and you sort of you're waking up.
Yeah, you're eager to get up.
Bahrain. I felt a bit like lethargy there. Like it, I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's obviously it's a night race. They set it up so on the grid walk is sort of evening and it goes into night, and it sort of I can't explain it, but it didn't really feel like a massively big event to me.
No, I mean, I would tend to agree with you. And then, obviously, with the Red Bull dominance, as soon as you saw Max there, you just lose all excitement for it. For me, personally. If you ignore them, it's there, but Max takes the headlines for me. But going back to what you said about being the first race and all that, it does get the excitement. A new season is you're always hoping that it's going to be close. And it looks like it will be minus one driver.
Yeah. Okay, maybe a little bit harsh for me, and we'll see. We're going to go to Saudi in just a few days and see if anything changes in Jeddah. Next one I want to go on to is Hamilton to Ferrari. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it at the moment. Firstly, Carlos Sainz is out Ferrari next season. Like, what's the dynamic there? Because we saw him make some absolutely mad moves, and I don't think he's interested in playing.
No, you can see that by some of his overtakes on Leclerc.
Yeah, 100%. So that's going to be an issue at Ferrari, I'm sure. Hamilton coming in, that is a really unusual fit, I think, culturally. I think Ferrari fans might not be ready for Hamilton. Hamilton's at the end of his sort of career. Like, what happens if Hamilton isn't really performing like the Hamilton of old at Ferrari? Are the Tifosi going to entertain it? Considering they've had a pairing of Leclerc and Sainz for quite a few years now, that's sort of a young, hungry partnership. Yeah,
and let me put it to you, Kireth. Is Leclerc actually going to be Hamilton's best teammate? His most competitive teammate he's going to have? What's your opinion on that one?
You asked me, is Leclerc a better driver than, say, Rosberg? Or Bottas?
Or Alonso. You got Alonso back there when he's in McLaren drive, when they were together for that one season in McLaren.
Well, I think Alonso was the youngest double world champion, wasn't he? So leaving Alonso out of it, I don't think Hamilton's had a challenge like that for a long time. Do I rate Leclerc more than George Russell? Probably I do, actually. People forget easily how Leclerc has really been in positions where he should have been winning races and Ferrari have let him down on strategy.
I mean, compared to Vettel, when Leclerc and Vettel were teammates, Leclerc, and in my opinion, Vettel is high up there. Leclerc was matching him, sometimes beating him, and that was in his second season in Ferrari, whereas obviously Vettel's been in it for years. So going back to my own question to you, I think Leclerc, minus the Alonso one, is probably going to be his toughest.
That's a really good point, actually. Leclerc has been teammates with Vettel at Ferrari. Vettel coming in similar stage, actually, earlier in his career.
Yeah.
Like, is Hamilton a better driver at this age of career than Vettel was there? It's like Leclerc's done it before, basically, where he sort of moved Vettel on.
Yeah, he's proven himself against the old wily person.
Yeah.
So can he do it again against Hamilton?
Yeah, and we know that Ferrari and the Tifosi, they absolutely love Leclerc. Like, he's their number one driver, and I think that's been difficult for Carlos Sainz and Carlos Sainz Jr. and Carlos Sainz Sr. to sort of work with. Another like very topical question. We're going to put it straight to you. Where is Verstappen now in the ranking of best ever F1 drivers? So I'm talking like Fangio, Jim Clark, Senna, Prost, Schumacher, Vettel, Hamilton. Where do you put Verstappen right now?
Where do I put him? For me personally, he's got to be top three. I'm a fanboy of Vettel. Always loved him. Even when he was Red Bull, he was the finger guy. Always been a fanboy of Vettel. Then, controversially, I'd probably put Prost there, just by his... He might not be the fastest, but he was the smartest by a long... They don't call him Professor for nothing. And then Max for me.
Wow.
Then Hamilton.
Schumacher?
Schumacher's... The thing with Schumacher is he had that dominant car. It's just the
People say he developed it though.
He did, and that's a good thing. But when we talk about Max, he's every single weekend. He's not needing team orders like Schumacher needed.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
Schumacher didn't need the team orders, but he was getting them. Max is proving himself with very, very few team orders.
Yeah. That's amazing. When you think about it, Verstappen has never... Well, Verstappen versus Ricciardo is interesting to think about like a few years back, but with Perez, it's never been in the question team orders.
And... How about you? Where do you rate him then?
Where do I rate Verstappen in the pantheon of great F1 drivers? I honestly think he might be the greatest.
Yeah?
I honestly think he might be the greatest. And I think that is partly because I'm not sure there will have ever been a driver that is doing so much racing as Verstappen is doing. Yes, Schumacher and days with Ferrari, they were testing all the time down at Maranello, whatever. But Max Verstappen is even I've raced Max Verstappen online.
Yeah.
He is sim racing all the time. It's an obsession that is natural to him. It's not work for him. He's not turning up to work. He's doing it because he enjoys it.
Yeah.
He is racing all the time. He's in it. He's bathing in it.
Yeah.
And I just think he takes it way more seriously. I look at the other drivers. This is a question I want to put to you, Sam, right? I look at the other drivers in qualifying when they're getting close to the Verstappen, 2-3 tenths, and I look at their body language, and it's all ruffling their hair, putting the sunglasses on, putting the watch on, and sort of like doing general statements to the interviewers. I know if Verstappen was P2 or P3, I think he's going to have a bigger fire in him. The only other driver that I know that has sort of that fire at the moment seems to be Carlos Sainz. I just think he's more driven than anyone else, and it's weird to say this is a pinnacle in motorsport.
Well, I mean, Max qualified pole. Yeah. And he was unhappy with... He was even apologising to GP about his lap time, saying, oh, sorry about that, mucked up this. But he still qualified.
And we've seen
pole.
the ugly side of Max. We've seen when he was 2016, 2017, crashing into people, not obeying team orders.
He's definitely matured.
He's matured, but he has that sort of like, whereas, other drivers... I don't know. There's been no driver change in F1 this season. Yeah. It seems a bit of a closed shop. Like... They all sort of have these big media profiles. They all go on the media tours. They're all like, you're an F1 driver. You're all on the same private jet. And I feel like there's not enough challenge. But it may be impossible because the car may be so good. But I'm going to put him right up there. Yes, the car's good. But Adrian Newey has designed dominant cars before. Mm-hmm. Adrian Newey designing the Williams, for example, back in the day. Like, did we ever think that someone like Damon Hill was a good driver as Max Verstappen? To be honest, no. Or Jack Villeneuve, no.
Damon didn't even start Formula 1 until he was like 32.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't expect someone... Newey contributes to Max's, Damon's, Villeneuve's. I think he was at McLaren. He was at McLaren as well when Hakkinen got it. So Newey is a key person to all this, but Max does just bring it up that much.
Yeah, I do want to like just pull it back a little bit, and then like if I take myself back to like 2010, 11, Sebastian Vettel with the finger, like that felt as dominant there, but Sebastian Vettel's legacy just hasn't really. I think Alonso has a stronger legacy than Vettel, which is weird when you think about it.
I think Alonso's legacy comes from the fact that he was beating Schumacher, who was so dominant because he was the person who stopped Schumacher during all those years. So Alonso's legacy comes from the fact that he stopped the Ferrari freight train.
Yeah.
Whereas Vettel,
and seen in a slightly compared to Ferrari, an underdog in the Renault.
Exactly. Yeah, he's young as well. Whereas Vettel, when he won his first championship and then the next 3 after that, there had been no continuous winner. It kept changing in between that. So I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's why
and
people
he was basically beating Mark Webber was really what was. Yeah.
But he didn't stop a freight train like Alonso did.
Yeah. You could say with Verstappen, he stopped the freight train of Hamilton.
Yeah, and I think that's why people rate Verstappen so high.
Right, let's go into the next question, and it leads on to that, which is we got the same driver lineup. Like, what does this mean for rookie drivers? What does it mean for people like Theo Pourchaire? What does it mean for people like Felipe Drugovich, who I've interviewed and I've asked him directly? Like, I said to him, you're the fastest driver in the world outside of Formula One, and you can see the pain that. What does it mean? It sort of feels like. Does it feel like a closed shot? What does F2 fit into all of this? And
I mean, for me, I'm really disappointed with not Red Bull, RB Visa Cash App. They had the opportunity. They've tested him. Liam Lawson, he came in last minute, overachieved.
Did everything he needed to do.
Exactly, and he's not got a seat. That team's there as a junior team. Why have they got Danny in there? Everyone knows Danny's speed. Everyone knows he's fast. But Visa Cash App, Red Bull, RB, they are a junior team. They should be bringing this fresh blood. We know Yuki's not going anywhere, so the second seat should be going to the fresh people.
Do you think Visa, and I think Zach Brown would like to hear this, do you think Visa Cash App RB as a junior team should actually be mandated, unlike any other team, because they are so clearly a junior team, to have at least one rookie driver?
100%. And I would go as far as saying Haas as well, with their Ferrari.
Yeah, I think Haas get off low. I mean, we all love Nico Hülkenberg. We want him to get that victory. We all love K-Mag coming back. But it's not an exciting lineup. No. People love the Hulk, but you'd love to. But they tried. They tried it before. They tried it with Mick, and
Yeah, I mean, for me, Haas this year is the most disappointing lineup. I think they are the most underwhelming lineup on the whole grid this year.
Yeah, it is a bit. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but I don't think a lot of people get excited about Haas. But maybe that's not what it's about. But it doesn't portray the story. It doesn't sell the story.
No, but then Hülkenberg did get to Q3 this weekend. He
did, but ironically, Magnussen beat him in the race.
He did.
Because Hülkenberg had actually lap one. But it's like this. We know in Formula One, we know a lot of people in Formula One and engineers and whatnot. You've raced with a lot of people.
I've raced with a few, yeah.
So, but there's so many people involved in the Formula One team: engineers, back office, everything coming together. And I feel like you need that pinnacle to tell the story. And if you've got a really exciting driver, it sort of sells the story of the whole team. Whereas the Haas outfit looks tired because they have quite a tired driver lineup, and that's doing them an injustice.
They don't have that young, fresh blood.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unknown.
Yeah,
and also So, next question. You're going to find this question very interesting, I think. Could F1 run with F2 and F3 as a multi-class?
We're essentially running a multi-class already. You got Max in his class and everyone else. Regardless of the machinery, though.
Yeah. Could you?
I can't see how it would work. I mean, they're not letting 11th team on.
What happens if the ratings fall and it gets stale? And they want to do. They're not afraid to do different stuff. They'll do Las Vegas on Saturday night. They'll do open season on Saturday. They'll, do all the Drive to Survive access. They're not afraid to do new stuff that's gimmicky. Let's be honest, Formula One.
I mean, it'd be interesting. It would give the rookies a chance.
Elevate them.
Yes, it would give them a chance to be there on the weekend. I mean, let's.
But they are there on the weekend. But you wouldn't know it if you just.
Exactly. Your average person doesn't know it. I mean, let's ignore the obscene amount of cars that be on the track. So let's just ignore that. It'd be interesting to see how they deal with, because obviously these new guys are never going to jump into the front seat. They're always going to jump into a back marker team. So with the F2s, when they're getting lapped, how they're dealing with it, it's something they can jump into and learn. Same with the F3s. It'd be interesting to see, but what's your opinion on it?
I think it'd be a great idea. Yeah? Honestly, I hope there's some way the universe conspires to make it happen. I think it'd be great for the profiles. It's like when you're watching WEC, you might be there because you're supporting Porsche Hypercar, Ferrari 499P Hypercar, Peugeot, but you're seeing, how are the Iron Dames doing?
Yeah.
How are Manthey doing? All this kind of stuff, you're seeing it. So I think it'd be great. You'd have way more exposure to the F2 drivers if they could make it work.
Yeah. So if we just go off a little tangent on that one, how do you feel about a video from Eddie Jordan recently saying about having a promotion and relegation.
I think
the two lowest teams go down, the two highest team in F2 go up.
You can't do it because the top two teams in F2 might be like, no way, we don't have the budget to do it. We don't want to do it. We exist in F2.
Yeah,
that's what we do. Why? There's so many great F2 teams that is where they operate.
Yeah,
so the idea of this Formula One's an American sport now. Let's be honest about it. They don't really do relegation. They do franchises.
Mm-hmm.
We're shooting this in England, where you support Brentford, I support West Ham. We dealt with relegation a lot of times,
many times,
and it adds some jeopardy. But I think it's such an alien concept to Formula One. It's a franchise system. They want people to buy into, and the same thing we see with Andretti.
Yeah,
they're essentially stopping Andretti from buying in because they don't want to share the profits. And it's ridiculous. The stuff for me anyway, the stuff they put in the press note to say, we think and it would benefit Andretti a lot more than us. That's such a narrow-minded way of looking at it. Let's be honest about it. If Andretti were on the grid in Bahrain, it would have added just genuinely a lot more excitement. That would have benefited F1.
Yeah.
So I think the whole thing was nonsense.
The same as if when you get a rookie driver, a new team, how are they going to do?
Yeah.
You never know until the first event.
Yeah. I feel like I worry it could be a little bit of a dull season, actually.
Yeah.
But we've got a few more things here. So Red Bull Cash App into Team Feud. I don't know if you saw the radio message between Yuki and Daniel, and I think Yuki dive bombing Daniel after the race.
Yeah, and then running him out wide. If you watch the clips, he must leave inches between the two. And
what's going on there?
I think they're really kicking off there. I don't think Yuki's very happy with.
Do you think that it's because they know that there's a Red Bull seat on the table?
It could well be. I mean, there's the biggest seat in the whole
there's
sport.
Race wins potentially there.
Exactly. The biggest seat in the whole sport is up for grabs. Odds are it's going to go to one of those two. There's no pressure. The only person who's got more pressure than those two right now is Perez.
Yeah.
And if he can keep that seat from those two.
Right. Gonna do a big quick. By the way, any questions you got, put in the comments. Make sure you subscribe as well to if you want to see more of the F1 show. We're going to be trying to do it after every F1 race, 24 this season, and we're just giving the honest take. This isn't sponsored. We don't need to say anything or not say anything. But I'm going to say this question, quite a controversial one: was F1 better 20 years ago?
100%, definitely. You've got the closer races. The only thing I prefer nowadays, or one of the only things I prefer nowadays compared to the older days, the point system. I always thought it was harsh. Only top six, top 8 getting points. Where you get like some Minardi, they got a 9th. That's unbelievable for Minardi. Still walk away with nothing. It'd be nice to have top 10s, but everything about them, they look more aggressive. They're smaller. They fit better on tracks.
Do you think F1 went too far with the sort of hybrid system to really keep manufacturers? Because F1 sort of, if you think about it, F1 now under Liberty is a very different commercial package.
100%.
It's sort of self-sustainable as an entity. I think it requires drama. It's a bit of a beast that I think requires the fuel of drama, and we've seen this a lot of stuff with Red Bull and other things.
Drive to Survive. That just amps it.
It really needs it to survive, because I think the ratings will crash and everything if there isn't the drama. So I'm interested this season. Is there going to be some sort of manufactured things or things amplified? But that is where it is now. It's sort of it's become this own thing.
Yeah.
But if we go back to when the V6, the hybrid era was on the table, that was really to keep manufacturers.
Well, that was a ploy to keep Mercedes in.
Yeah.
And the same as the next one's coming in 2026.
To keep
that
Audi.
was designed for Audi, exactly.
But do we think that that's really hurt the spectacle? Because if you listen to the way the cars used to rev in the past, stressing, it might not be as applicable to our road cars, but also there's big questions now about hybrid and EV where, I think a lot of manufacturers are sort of scaling back on going fully EV. I just wonder whether there's any chance where Formula One can be like, you know what, we're just going to go for massive spectacle. They're going to rev super high. They're going to be loud. They're going to be noisy.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the most fuel efficient things, but we're going to be much more environmentally conscious about everything around it, like how we ship freight and everything.
There was one of the teams, I can't remember which team it is. They've actually got solar panels on top of their pit perch.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that would all work.
Yeah.
And then we can get the noise back.
Yeah, because I think when you look at it, the amount of fuel used in the race is that much compared to the shipping and taking people around the world. So yeah, let us know in the comments if you want to see that, if you think Formula 1 was better 20 years ago. But that's the first ever F1 show we've done. We also don't have a name.
No.
So let us know what name.
We need a name.
We need a name, yeah. We're going to put it on the wall here. We're in our nice little studio that we've got. Hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe to the next episodes.
Thank you.